Go ahead and just state your name and your address, please.
Michael Etzel, 5052 North 127th Street, Butler, USA. Is this just 3 minutes?
Up to 3, yes.
Because I know to ramble once in a while. My concern is based on observation and comments that are shared by many village residents and that has to do with the speeding within the streets of the village of Butler. And I think it's kind of getting out of control. I see it more and more lately at various times of the day, morning, noon, and night. And I know that our officers diligently sit on 124th Street, Silver Spring, various points, and Hampton Avenue. We don't have kids riding bikes on those streets, people walking dogs, children playing right now. And I think it's imperative to assure the safety of our residents that our police department hopefully can implement a plan to spend a little time with radar on the streets of the village before it gets totally out of hand. We have new people coming to this village, and sometimes, they don't know what's going on over here. But my suggestion is, and I've sat on my porch with the radar gun that I got owned by somebody, and I've had people going 50, 60 miles, which is no exaggeration, going by my porch. In any event, my suggestion is, and I think most people would agree, most everybody in the village is on some form of social media, probably Facebook for the most part, because we have the Butler Police Department on Facebook, and we have our Village Butler Facebook page. Put the word out there that you're going to be sitting randomly this morning and night to ensure speeding is followed within the streets of the village. And just say, hey, we're going to start, sitting and consider this your one and only warning because we're not going to give out any warning tickets. Of course, that's up to the discretion of the officers, but I think it would maybe make an impact and get the speed limit under control here before it gets out of hand. So I'm hoping that again, the police department can implement into their daily activities. All it takes is an hour. I mean, if you sat right on my porch, and inside an hour, you'd probably be able to get 5 people no problem. So that's my major concern that I wanted to share with the village, the speeding that's going on in the streets inside the village.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
And I can address that. During the public safety meeting, we did discuss speeding just on the side streets, Hampton and 124th, and they are making a presence known. So even though you might not see them, they might be out there hiding.
I'm talking within the streets.
That's where they're hiding. They're there.
27th, Colfax.
Yep.
Mhm.
They're on it.
Especially since we've got these streets paved, it's easier to go fast on a smooth road than a bumpy road.
Yep, we're aware, and we're doing our best on that.
See the presence there once in a while.
Sure. Thank you. Anyone else desiring to be heard? None? Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to address Kayla. We've worked together for pretty much my entire tenure as a police chief, and it's tough to see you go. We've been through a lot through this in this village, and we've made a lot of great strides, both professionally and personally. Ben, you have some pretty big shoes to fill. You got to get out there. You got to drive in a truck during winter, and
Yeah.
maybe even get on a lawnmower and go into a fence or something. So you have some pretty big shoes to fill. And Kayla, I'd be remiss if I wouldn't say that you've been a phenomenal asset to this village for these past 10 years and taking it to the next level. And I'm confident that you've mentored Ben to the point where he's going to take it off from where you are. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for all you've done for me and for the department and for this village. So thank you so much.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, under the consent agenda. Is there any questions or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Any communications?
None, sorry.
Committee reports, library board.
The library board met on July 11th, 2023. Several things we discussed. We discussed trustee training week coming up the 21st and 25th through the 25th of August. We had a fundraising update with Charlene working on electronics funds collection to get some money through the internet. And Carol Zuba is working on an October trivia night. We'll also be set up at National Night Out with a tent. And we're still looking for another board member. And this one is a resident, correct? I just want to pause and get that out there.
I'm sorry, what did you say? You're looking for what now?
A resident of Butler is required to be on the library board in order for the library to continue operations. Discussion and possible approval of our 2024 draft budget. We continue to work on that, hone it to where it needs to be. And we're also taking a look at our policy on a reserve budget, which is probably a little bit bigger than we need to. So we're going to take a look at how we can use that money to upgrade our main computer system, for example, and take a look at what that means going forward. And a report.
Thank you. Park and Rec.
Park and Rec community events met on June 22nd. We used that time to just prep and plan for the 4th of July parade. Really no other topics were covered. Our next meeting is on July 26th. End of report.
Just a side note, I did have many residents thank me for the parade and all your efforts, and they described it as a fun parade. So thank you.
Thank you.
Butler Community Foundation, we talked about general repairs. The golf outing is coming up in September. The Clark House got painted and they are giving tours. That's the end of my report. Public safety. Public safety, sorry. Just took that one over tonight, so. Public safety meeting met tonight. We talked about several police department incidents and growth. We've got 2 new officers that were sworn in last week, and we're working on the best use of the 9th officer. Several trainings had been going on. We're preparing for the 15th National Night Out celebration, and Chief reported there were 744 traffic stops in the last quarter. Skateland summary is nothing major, just a couple minor incidents. The volunteer fire department, they are almost fully staffed to continue to work on that. We lost a couple, but EMTs are up, firefighters, we lost a couple of those from fully staffed. And they continue to do their training, and there were several quarterly incidents. Chief noted that the incidents of stroke have been up over the last quarter. End of report. Thank you. Did we have a building board
No.
and finance committee?
Finance Committee met earlier this evening and we reviewed and approved the current invoices of $134,623.72. Move that onto the full board for approval. End of report.
Thank you. We're going to move the report of the administrator to the end of the meeting. At this time, I'd like to open for public hearing regarding the large gathering permit for the Optimist Club. At this time, is there any public comment regarding this? None. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:08. And now on to the new business. Presentation of the 2022 village financial statements.
Are you ready, Michelle?
I am. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I am Michelle Walter. I'm a senior manager at Baker Tilly. I wanted to discuss with the board the 2022 audit and financial statements. The only difference between this year and prior years is that we're currently coming to you with a draft of the financial statements, which we are anticipating issuing in the next week. We wanted to get this in front of the board before Kayla's departure, so it will be what you have in front of you as draft financial statements is pretty much the same version that will get issued. There's a couple minor changes that need to get made, cosmetic mostly in nature. But overall, the objective of our audit is to issue an opinion on those financial statements. And for 2022, we were able to issue an unmodified audit opinion. And this is the highest level of assurance you can get from your auditor. And it means that the financial statements are free of any material misstatement, that they include all the necessary disclosures that are required, and that generally accepted accounting principles have been followed consistently and appropriately. I will mention that there was a new government accounting standard that was due up this year, which is called GASB 87 related to leases. As part of the audit this year, we had evaluation working with Kayla and Ben to determine the applicability of this, and it was determined that we didn't need to record any of these leases. So a new standard was out there, but we didn't have to implement. I'm going to be going over a very high-level summary of the financial statements, which you have a draft of. I believe you should also have a draft of the handout that I'm going to walk through. It's 4 pages or so long, very high level, as I mentioned. But if you look at page 15 or 16 of your financial statements, you'll see the general operating funds of the village. The general fund is the main operating fund where the day-to-day activities are accounted for. And during 2022, revenues or any other financing sources were about $2.3 million compared to expenditures of also $2.3 million. So overall, the general fund added to fund balance in 2022 of about $4,500. So at the end of the year, there is $710,000 total in the general fund balance, but this is made up of a couple of different segments. So the first segment is called non-spendable, and this is about $112,000 of fund balance. This is made up of items such as delinquent property taxes, prepaid amounts, or ambulance receivables that are not currently due. So this is all monies that are flowing through, or monies have been paid or not received, and they are not necessarily flowing through your fund balance position. The next category is committed fund balance, and there's about $40,700 in here. And this is your community service program. So that's all the monies that are earmarked for National Night Out or other type activities that are tracked separately. There's $41,000 of assigned fund balance, which is set aside for compensated absences. And that leaves unassigned fund balance of about $516,000. And this balance is about 21% of your 2023 budgeted expenditures. So that's a very strong unassigned fund balance in the general fund. We typically say that a strong position is somewhere between 20 and 25%. And I will make note that the village has a policy to maintain at least 10%. So you're well above that policy. The debt service fund is the next major fund the village has. There was about $553,000 of revenues compared to $521,000 of expense, increasing fund balance at the end of the year to about $77,000. All of this money is restricted for debt service payments. The library fund is the next major fund that the village has. And during 2022, there was approximately $114,000 of revenue compared to $109,000 of expenditures. So once again, increasing fund balance by approximately $4,600. At the end of the year, there's about $690 in non-spendable. So this is prepaid money where the cash is gone, but the expense isn't included in there. And then the remaining $28,500 is restricted for library purposes only. The borrowed money fund is the fund that you see your debt activity going through, and $802,000 of both revenue and expenditures during the year. Fund balance increased about $750,000, leaving ending fund balance of $1.2 million at the end of the year. And all of this money is from debt proceeds, so it's restricted for use was borrowed for.
And those uses were road construction.
Yep. Last column is the non-major funds of the village, and this includes the equipment fund, Park and Rec fund, and the ARPA fund. So overall for 2022, fund balance in these funds increased about $148,000 to end at approximately $399,000. The significant portion of this is the equipment fund, which has $386,000 in it. And then Park and Rec has about $13,000 in it. Within the draft financial statements themselves, there is a budget to actual comparison for financial statement purposes. And this is on page 60 for the general fund. And really, it's a summary that the village anticipated breaking even and increased fund balance by about $4,500. Shifting gears to utilities. The water utility, the stormwater utility, and the sewer all had operating income for the year. So the charges for services outweighed the charges, the expenses for those. Once we factor in the non-operating items such as interest expense or any grant revenue, investment income, the water utility decreased their net position by about $96,000 during the year, bringing the net position in the water utility down to about $1.3 million. And of this $1.3 million, there's once again buckets of that equity that's outstanding. $805,000 is called net invested in capital assets, and that is basically your infrastructure that is in the ground for the water utility, combined with the related debt. So this is not cash that's available to be spent. There's also $42,000 that's restricted for pensions, and that leaves an unrestricted balance of about $451,000. Now, in page 20 of the financial statements is the statement of cash flow. So if that's important to see what the utilities are doing during the year, the water utility decreased cash by about $236,000 during the year. But when we look at the operating portion, so kind of the charges for services and the equivalent expenses, cash increased by about $39,000 on that front. The stormwater utility increased net position by about $90,000, ending the year at $2.3 million. Once again, there's about $2.1 million in that net invested in capital assets. A small portion, about $35,000 restricted for pensions, leaving an unrestricted balance of about $176,000. And looking at the cash flow for the year, the stormwater cash increased during 2022. The last utility is the sewer utility, and overall the sewer increased net position by about $226,000, ending the year at $1.4 million. Of this amount, there's about $547,000 sitting in that net invested in capital assets. And then there's a couple pieces that are restricted in this fund for pension of about $40,000, and then you're required to maintain the equipment replacement fund of about $49,000. So at the end of the year, the unrestricted portion of the sewer is $755,000. That's kind of a very brief financial aspect in a nutshell. We also issue a second report, which is our reporting and insights document. And this is formally known as a management letter, but it's our communications that we have as part of the audit with management and the board. This is where we identify any material weaknesses that we noted as part of our audit. And the two material weaknesses that we have noted are the same ones that we've had from prior years. One being that we, as your auditors, prepare your financial statements and make material journal entries. This is not unusual for a village your size or the staffing size that you have. Same goes with the segregation of duties. There is just not enough people to be able to segregate every function to have proper approval and somebody else doing something with a separate eyes of approval. So the village does very good with what you have in place, but we're still required to communicate those as a material weakness. Any other comments or recommendations that we come across as part of the audit? And once again, I would think this is fairly comparative to where we've been at in prior years. We have some IT best practices, some comment related to payroll liability accounts kind of needing to be cleaned up. There's some balances that have rolled forward for several years. There's a note on the investment policy and how your policy states that you're required to only have $750,000 at a bank, but at a point in time, because of tax collections, the village is over that amount in the policy. As your auditors, we're also required to have certain communications as part of the audit. We're required to communicate any change in accounting policies, which there were none in 2022. There could have been if there was more leases at the village, but we did not encounter any material items. We're required to communicate any estimates, such as the net pension asset or the OPEB liabilities. We're required to disclose in here if there were any difficulties performing the audit, which I'm happy to say that there were none. And this would not be the first time you'd be hearing about it if there were. And then we're required to communicate our independence, that we are independent of the village and that the village is independent of us. The last portion of this report it's called two-way communication. And this is just a reminder to management and the board that, an audit doesn't necessarily have to be a year-end type of thing. We're available throughout the year if anything kind of piques your interest or you have concerns over any areas or questions on, how to do things. It's kind of more looking for information throughout the year. So that's kind of what I have prepared briefly. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer or go through anything else you'd like to discuss.
Could you tell me again what the non-spendable account is in the fund balance?
What is what does non-spendable designation and fund balance mean again?
Yep, and that's really that funds are there's kind of two aspects. The first one is like an inventory or a prepaid where cash has literally gone out, but because of the nature, it is not expensed within that fund balance. So it's for future periods.
So,
and then
so like, for example, we prepay membership dues for associations. They are booked as of January 1st in our financial software, but they're paid in December. So that is part of the non-spendable, meaning we don't physically have the cash on hand, but our books don't show that the cash has left the door.
It shows that the cash has left the door, but the expense side hasn't. So,
Got it. Okay.
But then the other piece of that is if there's any receivables that aren't currently due. So that's where we have the ambulance or the delinquent property taxes that, have been outstanding for a while. You don't have the monies to physically spend those.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I think we're good.
We should
Okay,
do
well,
it.
and my contact information is included in there if anyone also has any questions throughout the year or if things pop up. But I appreciate all the help during the audit for both Kayla and Ben. And I'm sure that we will miss you also, Kayla. So enjoy. But I'm sure Ben will be able to handle us.
Yes. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle.
Discussion and possible action on approving a large gathering permit for the Optimist Club of Sussex, Lisbon, Landon, Butler for Hot Rods on Hampton event, September 10, 2023, including a waiver of the permit fee. And I do note that earlier tonight, we had a public hearing and there was no comment made at that time. Any questions on it? And if none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the large gathering permit for the Optimist Club and the waiver of permit fee.
I'll second it.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
I have one question.
go
It
ahead.
was brought up earlier in a previous meeting. Are they doing a rain date? Does anybody know?
Danielle, I don't think we discussed a rain date. I don't think the event is organized logistically to just pick up and move to another day.
Right.
We have a lot of vendors and food trucks and people volunteering. So
Okay.
no,
At this point.
it saves everybody. I'm either way, but I'm just gonna go with no.
Okay.
Lots of food. We have like 30, 40 volunteers, so give them another day.
Sure. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, we had a motion that was seconded and discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on approving a request from the Optimist Club of Sussex, Lisbon, Land and Butler for the exemption from 4-131-1B of the municipal code regarding outside consumption of alcoholic beverages for the Hot Rods on Hampton event, September 10th, 2023, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on approving a request from the Cardinal Club for extension of premise on September 10th, 2023 for Hot Rods on Hampton event.
I'll make a motion to approve the extension for the Cardinal Club for Hot Rods on Hampton on September 10th.
I'll second it.
And that's for to be able to go out onto the street, right?
No, it's for them to set up a bar outside of their premise. So like Cardinal Club sets one up on their little grassway. Butler Inn sets one up in their parking lot. Bottoms Up sets one up in their parking lot. Their liquor license just includes a description of their premise and that is where they're regulated to sell their alcohol. If they want to sell it outside of that, they need to request an extension of premise.
Thank you. We do have a motion and it's been seconded. Is there any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on approving a request from Butler Inn for extension of premise on September 10, 2023 for Hot Rods on Hampton event.
Now that's for their parking lot, not in front of their building, right? Because that's public sidewalk.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on approving a request from Bottoms Up for extension of premise on September 10, 2023 for Hot Rods on Hampton event.
I'll make a motion to approve the extension for Bottoms Up.
Second.
I got Pat.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on ordinance amending section 50-101 of the Butler Municipal Code with regard to the state and international codes and state rules adopted.
This is just updating state code references for our building inspection department.
And it's unrelated to Hampton,
Correct.
Hot Rods on Hampton, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, we're done with Hot Rods on
Yep,
Hampton now.
okay. Just clarifying.
With that, then I'll make a motion to accept the 50-101 municipal code.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on approving an agreement between the Village of Butler and the Labor Association of Wisconsin for and on behalf of the Village of Butler Professional Police Association Local 312 for January 1, 2024 through December 31, 2026.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Report of the administrator.
I just have a couple things. As I wrap up my time here in Butler, I've had the opportunity to reflect just on how far this small village has come over the last 9.5 years. As a community, we have overcome seemingly unsurmountable obstacles, made difficult decisions, and have embraced change like never before. We have set forth on a path that will keep this community attractive and relevant to families, businesses, and visitors for generations to come. We've taken on projects to ensure that we have a safe and reliable infrastructure system, improved our park to be the jewel of the community, bolstered our financial standing, and created an 8-time award-winning budget document. But most importantly, we've overhauled our organizational culture to one that values ethics, respect, honesty, and transparency. I have been fortunate to have an amazing team that surrounded me to help me execute the board's vision and move this community forward. From my administrative team throughout the years, Barb, Carolyn, Melanie, Pat, Pam, Candace, and Ben, to the police department, including Dave, Clint, Sean, Z, Robin, and Linda, and our outstanding DPW, Jim, Craig 2, Justin, Pat, and Jeremy. Our team has accomplished great things together, and I thank you for your unwavering support. I probably wouldn't recognize the 26-year-old first-time administrator that I was when I walked through the doors in 2014. In fact, I only committed to staying here for 2 years, but before I even knew it, almost 10 years has passed in the blink of an eye. I will forever be grateful to Village President Rick Enslin and the Village Board for taking a chance on me and giving me the opportunity and freedom to learn, change, fail, and succeed. Thank you to Presidents Pat Tarks and Paul Kasdorf and the over 15 different village trustees I have worked for continuing to believe in me all these years. Your faith and leadership in me have been instrumental in my career and my life. I want to recognize my family, my mom, my husband, and my son who are here, who over the last 10 years have been a constant support and exhibiting outstanding patience. I know life with a village administrator can be challenging, but your support has meant the world to me. I will always keep close a piece of Butler. In fact, the dirt that my lawn is planted on is Butler dirt. I'm proud of the small part I've played in getting Butler to where it is today, and I look forward to the great things in store for Butler under Ben's leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I have a few words. Over the years with the village, you have had many accomplishments and too many to list. In no particular order, here are a few that rise to the top. Whether it is a new board member or staff member, you have always been able to explain the village, our operations, and keep us working together toward our goals. I thought it was kind of fitting tonight that we had a budget talk because one of my categories was the budget. There's an organization called the Government Finance Officers Association, which represents over 20,000 public finance officials. Those officials are deeply involved in the planning, financing, and operations of the village or their local government. Part of that program is a distinguished budget presentation award program that encourages and assists governments in preparing budget documents that reflect the established guidelines and best practices. With your efforts, our village has received this honor for the first time and many times thereafter with the budgets you prepared. In addition, you personally received the Wisconsin Policy Forum Leader of the Future Award. Both of these awards speak volumes for your dedication to making the Village of Butler to have a sustainable future. Finally, and my personal favorite, with your behind-the-scenes research, planning, and knowledge, you have taken our sometimes too long of meetings and made them short. And with that, on behalf of the Village of Butler, we would like to thank you for your years of service and wish you the very best.
Here.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.